All right, come on in. Thanks for coming through to Healthy Mentality Live. Kick your feet up, grab your water or your protein shake, and join in the conversation. I'm your host, Charles, also known as RMZ. If you haven't already, please take a moment to smash those like and subscribe buttons. And if you're watching on the mobile app, throw some hype my way. All of it helps the channel to grow. Let's get this channel to 5,000 subscribers with the hurry upness. Also, I've partnered with Fridays, and if you're uninsured, underinsured, or branded GLP-1s just aren't in the budget for you, Fridays has you covered. They offer compounded GLP-1 options at accessible prices with no membership fees, and that includes your lab work, unlimited provider visits, nutrition coaching, dietitian support, and live workout programs. They also provide access to TRT for all you men out there, and powerhouse supplements like Samoralin and NAD+. They even have a meal delivery service for an additional charge. You can use the link in the description of this video and the code RMZ to get a $150 discount on your first order. Also, a big shout out to all the channel members out there, the big Zeppers. I thank you for your continued support always. And if you aren't a member, I still thank you for subscribing, liking, commenting, and showing up here each Tuesday night to be a part of this community. Now, before we begin, a quick disclaimer. I am not a healthcare professional. I didn't even stay at a Holiday Inn last night. None of my guests are healthcare professionals. And even if they were, they are not your healthcare professional. Nothing shared here is medical advice. We're simply sharing our own personal experiences and perspectives. Please consult your healthcare team before making any changes to your treatment or your routine. Now, at the end of the show, we'll have a live Q&A. And if you have a question, drop it in the comments at any point and start it with 3Qs so I can filter and easily find it. And if you're a man looking to come on and tell your story, email me at roundmoundzep@gmail.com. You can see it on the screen here. It's also going to be scrolling across the bottom of the screen in the ticker. With that said, please join me in welcoming tonight's guest. Zach, welcome. Thank you for joining us tonight to tell your story. You want to give a brief introduction to yourself?
Yeah, so my name is Zach. I'm 41, single. I'm not new to the dieting scene at all, by any means. As you kind of already hinted at, I did go through a big weight loss in the past, where I lost 173 pounds, and then slowly over the course of a couple of years, I ended up gaining almost 250, or more back. I'm pretty new to the whole social media thing. I had just started it up not too long ago because I kind of want to share my journey. And I started a GLP-1 Zepbound back on June 19th of 2026.
Well, welcome to the GLP-1 community and welcome to social media. All right, so your story, between 2014 and 2016, you lost 173 pounds. What was it that made it work for you at that point?
So back then, I had just gotten married, and we were, it was a high school sweetheart. So we ended up getting married, and we were working two different jobs at the time. I was working 7 days a week in a factory that was hot, sweaty, and I was also working second shift. So working 7 days a week, second shift, I didn't really have much of a life. Uh, my wife at the time, she was working this swing shift where she was working second shift for like 2 weeks, and then she would work first shift for 2 weeks.
Mm.
So when we got married, it was like the worst possible time we could ever gotten married, because we were just on completely opposite shifts.
Yeah.
And then in like 2014, around the 2014 time frame, we ended up splitting up, and around that time, I was sitting at 402 pounds, and during that whole transition, I had so much motivation. It was one of those things where it was just, I had all this motivation to lose all the weight because, I was getting ready to get back into the dating scene, and I just really didn't like the way I looked. So I slowly started doing, watching what I ate, stopped going out to eat, stopped drinking caffeine and only drank water. And then, over the course of a couple of years, I got down to, I think my lowest was around 229.
Yeah.
And I think you have some pictures that you'll show later of that first weight loss. But that was it. I had a ton of motivation. I was in my 30. I had just like hit 30, and I was basically in the best shape of my life, because I was basically like jogging every day before going into work 7 days a week, and it was just, somehow I had all that motivation. Even after working all that time, I still had the motivation to go to the gym, eat well, and try to do everything that I wanted to do to lose that weight, because I had never really been skinny. I've always been overweight.
Yeah. Okay. So in 2016, you mentioned on some of your videos that you went through a toxic relationship and you started. You don't need to go into all the details of that if you don't want, but that was a pivot point for you where you kind of reverted back to some of your old habits. What did that look like? Was it gradual or did it happen all at
It
once?
it was very gradual, but once I slipped into it, it was really hard to slip back out of it. So what ended up happening is around 2016, early 2016, I had bought my first house. So I was like 30, just bought my first house. Everything was going good. I was working all the time. I was in the best shape of my life. So I was dating around quite a bit, and playing the fields and everything like that. And I ended up messaging this girl that I used to know back in high school that we were friends with, and we never really connected. We were just friends and everything like that. So I hit her up one day, and we started dating. And this was around the time when I had just bought my house. So she had ended up long story short, she ended up moving in, and I didn't know a whole lot about her because at the time that we met and the time that I bought my house, she was actually getting kicked out of her own house. So I didn't really know much about her from except for what I remember from her in the past.
Yeah.
But she was getting kicked out, so I invited her to come live in my house, and we can kind of blossom the relationship if it got that far. So slowly, and I'm working 7 days a week, and some of the red flags I should have caught right away was she didn't have a job, so she was just kind of staying at home. So she didn't have a way of making income. So I was trying to help her out, trying to get her to get a job, and she never really did. Um, Come to find out, she was an addict, and she hid it from me very well. So she was addicted to meth, and it was something that I couldn't see right away. She hid it from me very well, and I was just like, and I didn't know what to think about it because I was working all the time. But slowly, I started finding stuff that was missing around my house. Stuff was slowly starting to disappear, and I didn't know what was going on. I was starting to hear rumblings from my neighbors that people were coming in and out of my house all the time, and I didn't know about it when I was at
Wow.
work.
Wow.
Then when I finally confronted her about it, and she finally told me that she's an addict, and she was promised that she was going to go into rehab and get better and everything like that. So I believed it, and she basically just bled me for another couple of months. Um, and then it got to the point where I finally said I had enough and I was going to kick her out. But Indiana, is where I live, has basically squatter rights. So if you live somewhere for 30 days, you have to go through the whole eviction notice. Even though she didn't have anything in my house that was hers, basically, she didn't pay any of the bills. She didn't have a job. I still couldn't kick her out of my house without going through the court system. And about that
Yeah,
time,
that's
about
crazy. You hear those stories all the time, and my wife and I were just watching a series on Hulu about squatters and at different locations, and the stories are crazy. You never would think that laws could be set up that way to give somebody rights to your house, especially one that you own.
Yeah, and then to come to find out where her whole plan was to get me put in jail so she could just basically take everything that I had.
Wow.
Um, so, like I said, she hid it from me very well. But the signs were there, but I didn't see them because I had never really been around addicts or anything like that. It's never been a part of my life where I ever got addicted to drugs or anything like that. So I didn't really notice it. And like I said, I was working all the time, so I didn't catch it because obviously I was always working. But uh, around that time when I told her I was getting ready to kick her out is when she got very toxic to the point where she would leave bruises on her arms. So that way, if I
Wow.
did call, she would get me arrested for assault and everything like that. And then if I did call the cops, she said she had drugs all over the house and that everything is in my name. So if I called the cops, I'd be basically calling the cops on myself because she would say everything is mine. And I felt trapped. I felt like I was trapped in my own house, like I was a prisoner in my own house. Um, but I mean, and that's when I started eating
Yeah.
because I was in a place where I was working all the time. I couldn't do anything about it. Eventually, I broke down a couple months later. Like I lived like that for probably 3 or 4 months, where I was just basically she. And then by that time, since she was being that toxic, she was just openly using in my house, and I can't do anything about it. If I call the cops, I'm getting in trouble because everything's in my name. Um, Eventually I broke down one day and I called my mom and I was like, I don't know what to do. I was like, I don't know how to get about this. And eventually I said, whatever. If I go to jail, I go to jail. I can't do it no more. So I ended up calling the cops, and they ended up coming over to the house. She had like a bag of marijuana on her or something like that, which was my saving grace. Thankfully, she had that. So she ended up going to jail for that. She didn't pull any of the cards that she said she was going to do because I guess she didn't have any bruises on her arms or anything like that at the time to kind of try to pin anything on me. But during that time, while she was getting taken to jail, my mom and everybody had come over and tried to move all of her stuff that might be hers out of my house and into my garage. Because even at this point, I still cannot kick her out of my house.
Wow.
She has keys. The cops said they can't do anything about it. So then I went to the courts the next day and started the eviction notice. And she basically ended up living in my garage. She still didn't get the point, and she ended up living in my garage for about 30 days.
Wow. That's wild.
and I couldn't. And luckily, she handed over the keys, but she was still allowed on my property for whatever reason. I don't understand these laws, but whatever. But by that time, I had already, in those months that I was sitting there feeling like I was being suffered and tortured, basically, I had started eating a lot.
Yeah.
I had started just panic eating because I was so stressed. And probably in the course of 7 months, I probably went from the 220s back up to like the low 330s or somewhere
Wow.
around there. I floated around pretty quickly in about a 6 month time frame.
She
Um,
she made a she made a comment to you that kind of
yeah,
was kind of
that's
a dagger to you, right?
a dagger to me.
Yeah.
So one night we were having a fight. It was really close to the end. She looked me in the eyes, and because I was blaming her because I was blaming her because I was eating so much and I was gaining all this weight and I was happy beforehand, and she's causing me all this stress. And then she told me that I was the one who had the addiction. And coming from somebody who somebody like that, she would just basically told me, it doesn't have to be drugs that you're addicted to. You can be addicted to other things. And coming from her, I didn't. I just said whatever, and it was like I'm not listening to her anymore. But um, this year, actually, what she said has resonated, and I
Mm,
finally, when the scale tipped over 225 pounds, I finally said, she's right. I do I do have an
yeah.
addiction. I started looking at my life this year, uh, that not only am I addicted to food, but I'm also addicted to like DoorDash and Grubhub and just the easy access to food. And when I finally clicked and I was like, man, I do have an addiction, and she was right. And she was right. It really sank home. And that's when I started going to a GLP-1. That's when I started looking for one, because before GLP-1s, I always looked down on people who were taking these kind of medications. I was
Yeah.
just like, I want to do it the natural way. I've done it the natural way before. I don't want to go through surgery. Anybody who's taking a GLP-1 or doing a surgery, that's the cheating way. I don't want to do the cheating way. I want to do it the natural way, because I don't want something else to take presence of my accomplishments of
Yeah.
something that I did. And when I
Yeah.
did it the first time, I did it all natural. I did it by myself. I had all that motivation and everything. So yeah, so
Yeah.
I was who was actually an addict. So yeah, you're completely right on that.
Yeah. We'll come back to the white knuckling it, GLP-1 cheating thing, but 2022 was kind of an inflection point for you. You're in isolation. You're working from home now, I believe, and you mentioned you're utilizing these food delivery apps and probably putting yourself in a lot of debt as well, because you're constantly ordering out, right?
Yeah, so I got through COVID pretty well. I didn't really discover DoorDash and Grubhub until about 2022. It really didn't get popular in my town. I live in a smaller town here in Indiana, so it didn't really get popular until the early 2020s. And I kind of stayed away from it because I didn't really think about it much. But I ended up quitting my factory job in 2022. So after 10 years, I finally said goodbye. They were struggling still with COVID at the time, and they were like on a work hold, and they were putting me in different areas where I didn't want to work. I didn't want to do it anymore. My body was basically saying no more. I was getting ready to turn 40, and I was just like, I don't want to do it anymore. So I ended up quitting, and I ended up getting really lucky and found a job where I can work from home, which is was always the dream. Always the work from home was kind of the dream, which was still kind of true. It's still nutty that I get to work from home and I get to do what I do.
Yeah.
But in 2022, I found Grubhub and DoorDash, and that's when. And at that time, I was probably sitting in the low 400s at that time when I
Yeah.
started this job. I was at like 402 or something like that. Um, so I started doing DoorDash, and slowly over time, I noticed that I was really never leaving the house. I was always ordering DoorDash. I can pull up the receipts, but I was probably spending anywhere between $2,500 and $3,000 a month on DoorDash
Wow.
and Grab.
That's a
So
lot.
it put me in a financial situation fairly quick, to the point where I ended up having to get a small loan to pay off my credit cards, because I was like, I wasn't thinking at the time, right? I was in this full blown almost addiction phase for a couple of years, and I wasn't really thinking about it.
Yeah.
Uh, and it was one of those things where it was just like, I'll start the diet on Monday. Monday came around, I would buy, the groceries to get it all started. I wouldn't do it. I was just order DoorDash. And then the next thing I know, the next day rolls around. I'm still not doing it. 3 days rolls around. I'll start it again on Monday. It was just a
Yeah.
revolving thing almost every week, where I'll
Yeah.
start it tomorrow, start it on Monday.
I
And
think I
it
think we've all experienced that cycle of starting on Monday and going to get all the groceries and
and
everything falling apart. You have to start them on Monday all over again.
and depending on what part of the month it was, it's just like, what, let's get a fresh start at the beginning of the month. I'll eat whatever I want for the last 2 weeks of the month. And I racked up a bill very quickly. So I was spending so much money. And I can go back on some of my apps. I think I have like Rocket Money or something like that, just to see where my spending was going. And I just looked at it the other day, and there's like a $2,700 just from DoorDash, and that's not including my house. That's just straight DoorDash food coming to me.
Yeah.
I was ordering DoorDash 2 to 3 times a day, sometimes maybe even
Yeah.
four. Really, if I was staying up late and I was like, you know what, let's get some Taco Bell at 2 o'clock in the morning or whatever.
Yeah.
So,
It'd
uh,
be one of our community members, metabolic midwife Barb. Um, she and I'd be it'd be interesting to see what you do if you're able to do this. She took all of her DoorDash and Grubhub orders and put them in Chat GPT and calculated how many calories she was eating per
yeah.
day. So it'd be interesting to see how much you were spending and how many calories you were consuming a day going through those ordering apps.
I I honestly I couldn't even tell you. I wouldn't even know where to start with some of these, just because it really depends on where I was. I might have to try that one day, seeing like what I was ordering, because I know some of my orders. They were like my go-to orders, and they were definitely not healthy at all. Which explains why from 2022 to now, I went from the low 400s to 525,
Yeah.
125 in a couple of years, highest I've ever been, up to June 19th. Um, so yeah, that's a crazy. I don't know, I had never really thought about how many calories I was actually injecting at that point.
Yeah. All right, let's go back to the cheating. What what brought about that mindset? Is it something that's cultural, or is it because you were so successful years earlier and you lost 173 pounds and you're just going to be able to do it again? What gave you the mindset that using the GLP-1 was going to be cheating, no matter how dire straits you were in?
And that's how it was. That's how I looked at it. I did it once before. I can do it again. I don't need the help, right? I don't need that help. And kind of like what I was saying earlier, I didn't want, if I did do something like this, I didn't want it to, that's okay, well, that's how you lost the weight. So you had to take a medication to lose the weight. Oh, you had to get surgery to lose the weight, and you didn't have to do anything to lose it. I didn't want something else to take that accomplishment away from the journey that I had.
And
And me doing it. Go ahead.
what did earning it mean to you emotionally to be able to say that you earned it?
It meant everything. It
Yeah.
meant the world to me that I was able to do this all naturally. Just to get in, white knuckle it, as people say, do all that work. And I'm slowly starting to find out that even on a GLP-1, I still have to put in the work. I still have to do all that. And the whole reasoning that I decided to turn to a GLP-1 is because I needed something. I know I can do it. I know I can do it because I've done it before, But now that I'm, 41 now, I need something to turn off the food noise. And that was the biggest thing when I started looking for GLP-1s, that was the biggest thing that I was looking at. And that was the most thing I was skeptical about.
Yeah.
I was like, how
So,
can turn off food noise?
so, was there a specific moment where you started to look for a GLP-1, or was it just the 525, seeing that number on the scale, or was there something, a moment before that?
It was it was around the 500-pound mark when I was like, I think I need help. It was around the 500-pound mark where I finally admitted that I broke down, and I finally said, you know what, I have an addiction, and it's turning into a mental problem, because not only am I eating out all the time, I'm not leaving my house. I'm turning into, I can't remember the phrase for, agoraphobia, where you just
Hmm.
don't ever want to leave the house and you're afraid to leave the house. And I know what I looked like. I know what I look like. I'm a very heavyweight, 6 foot tall man, and going out into society, I know how people look upon that.
Yeah.
Um, so it was just one of those things where it finally clicked in my brain, and I broke down to my mom one day, and I was calling her on the phone. I was like, I have to figure something out. I have to do something, because the thing that I told her that really resonates with me is something that I told her. I was like, if I don't do something now at around 500 pounds, I'm not going to have medical bills in the future. I'm going straight to the grave. I'm going to have a massive heart attack. I'm not going to have medical bills. I'm going straight 6 feet under, and it's going to be the big one that takes me out. And that was the thing that kind of worried me, and it still worries me because I'm still overweight. So, but I'm getting better, hopefully.
Yeah, you're definitely getting better. So now you're on a GLP-1. You've been on it for what, 3 weeks now? Almost 4 weeks.
Yep,
Um,
4 on Friday.
yeah. What does earning it look like for you now?
It is the same. It's the same thing, except for I don't think about food. It's I still feel like I'm earning it. So now that I got to thinking about it, and I was like, how is it cheating, right? How is it cheating to have something help you anymore? Do you blame people who are on antidepressants to make them feel better, to make them feel normal? Do you say that that's cheating for somebody like that to feel normal? Is that? And I kind of looked at it in that way, that
Yeah.
the science is there, the results are there, you hear about it all the time. It's time to get a little bit of help, especially since I had kind of already broken down and was like, yeah, I definitely have some sort of addiction. I am starting to have some kind of a mental problem with food that is super unhealthy, that I have to find something to help.
Yeah.
So, and I don't really want to do surgery. I never wanted to do the surgery, just because I used to have a friend. His dad went through the gastric sleeve surgery way back in the early 2000s,
Mhm.
and watching him go through that was implanted into my mind that that is a complete last ditch for me if I ever have to do that. But turning to the GLP-1 has really opened my eyes to a lot of things.
Yeah, definitely. Um, as we were going back and forth trying to set this up, I one of the questions I asked you was, are there any comorbidities that you had when you started, and do you see them going away as you continue on your journey? And you mentioned to me that it's been a long time since you've been to a doctor, so you don't know exactly what your statuses are on stuff like your blood work and things of that nature.
Yeah,
What kept you from going to the doctor?
because every time I go to the doctor, it's the same thing. It's your weight. That's the only thing they point out. They don't give me any. They never really told me anything else. My doctor was just like, "You need to lose weight." And every time I do ended up going to the doctor, because I do suffer from gout in my foot every once in a while. So I do have a flare up, and I found out that I had that in my mid 20s. And I don't know if it was genetic because my grandfather had it, or if it was just from the food, the diet that I had. But either way, when I did go to the doctor, probably the last time I went to the doctor was about 2 years ago, and I was super super scared of it. I had to go in because I had to get more medication for the gout, and I told him while I was there, go ahead and do some blood work. And I wanted to see if I was like pre-diabetic, because probably being in the mid 450s at that point was I was really shocked to hear that I wasn't pre-diabetic at all.
Mm.
And he said all my blood work basically came back. I had high blood pressure, but it wasn't anything crazy, which I found shocking.
Yeah.
It was, so I feel like I'm lucky in that sense that I haven't gotten anything really major like that. Um, but I don't know the full story, honestly, because
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just doctor because they would always tell me the same thing.
Yeah, and you're not alone in that. I mean, that's the reason why I kind of started the series, so men can hear other men talking about their health and hopefully prompt them to start going to the doctor and having these discussions with the doctor. So you're not alone at that, and you're not alone in hearing from the doctor that it's just weight related. I've had that discussion with my doctors multiple times. I needed hip replacement surgery, and they just told me I just needed to lose weight. And I hear stories from other men and other women for that matter about that same discussion. Everything is weight, 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 weight. And at a certain point, you just get tired of hearing that. You want some help. So you're not alone in that. So um, now you did describe chronic inflammation and pain um, clearing up almost immediately from your first injection, along with the food noise. Can you talk about that for us for a moment?
Yeah, so on June 19th, 2026, almost 4 weeks ago, I finally took my first dose of the 2.5 milligram Zepbound. Along with Zepbound, I also started doing OMAD, which is 1 meal a day, because I've had great results on it in the past. And I also stopped drinking all caffeine, anything with caffeine, anything with sugar in it, and it's only been straight water. Um, I felt inflamed. I was taking 5 to 10 Advil almost every day just because of how much pain I was chronically in. I would take like 4 or 5 in the morning, 4 or 5 at night, and I never really felt well. So 3 days in after I took my first shot, I'm going through caffeine withdrawals. I'm nauseated. I knew what withdrawals were. If you've ever stopped drinking caffeine completely, you know exactly the pain that can bring on the migraine, the fatigue, and everything like that. You feel it for 3, 4, 5 days. Um, After that, almost about a week in, after I started eating better, I took my first shot and I stopped drinking caffeine and everything like that. My inflammation has completely gone away. I'm going, instead of doing Advil every day, I'm doing Advil maybe every 4 or 5 days, maybe twice a week at this time, depending on if I'm doing any kind of activities or something like that, and I start hurting. So yeah, inflammation wise, I feel really good, honestly, and I'm really surprised at the results. And I don't know if that's just because I'm eating a lot better, which probably it is because I'm eating a lot better. The no caffeine, only water going into my system. So in that
Yeah.
regards, yeah,
Yeah, those things help, but yeah, the medication itself really impacts inflammation big time. It helped me get up moving. You know, my body is racked from high school and college football, and I would start working out and have to stop because something started hurting, and I needed another surgery or some physical therapy to keep going. And next thing you know, I'm back on the couch. But taking this medication, that inflammation went away. Not the joints, my inflammation in my joints, inflammation in my body just cleared up. So it is a miracle worker on inflammation. So yeah, you're right on there.
yeah.
The food noise, food noise going away is amazing. Talk about that. 'Cause I remember it just silencing everything for me. What was it like for you?
I I didn't know what to do with myself because my whole life up to the 19th has revolved around food.
Yeah,
I was always thinking about it, even after I ate a huge meal and I was full and I was sick because I had just eaten so much of everything. 2 hours later, I was still thinking about food. I was thinking, where am I ordering DoorDash in a couple hours to get more food. Uh, and that was and again, that was the biggest thing I was skeptical about. I didn't know how a medication could stop you from thinking about food. I still don't understand it, how I just don't ever think about food at all. I haven't looked at DoorDash. I'm not looking around in my cupboards for food. I'm not hungry. Now, with that being said, towards the end of the week, because I take my shot every Friday right now, I do find on Wednesdays and Thursdays I do start to feel my stomach growling. I can feel that medication wearing off. But the thing that is going on is my stomach might be grumbling a little bit, but I don't think about it.
Yeah.
My mind is not telling me to go get food, which any other time I'd already have DoorDash ordered before I even started work. So
Yeah. So that first week, you lost 21 and a half pounds.
20,
No,
20.
a lot of that is water weight, as you mentioned, which is necessary to get off its weight nonetheless, but it's necessary for your body to shed. What does that feel like when you hop on a scale a week later and you see you're almost out of the 500s?
I I was shocked. I was really shocked. That's the biggest weight loss I've ever had in a 1 week period ever. Any other time that I've done like OMAD, or I tried to do this, I would see like maybe a 10 pound week or something like
Hmm.
that. But stopping, taking that shot, doing OMAD, and then the no caffeine, no pop, and eating a very strict like protein, and trying to get some fiber in. I I can't explain it. It was shocking, and it felt really good because I had just had a really bad week because I was just going through the caffeine withdrawals,
Yeah.
and I was just having a really bad week. And when I jumped on the scale to find out that I had dropped 21 pounds the first week, I knew it was water weight, and I knew it was bloat because I could feel it. I could feel it just leaving my body at that
Yeah.
point. So I knew it was a lot of that, but it was the single biggest loss that I had ever seen, and I was shocked. I wasn't expecting to lose. I was expecting to maybe lose about 25 pounds the first month,
Yeah.
just because I've done this before in the past, and I know kind of how my body reacts to the stuff that I'm doing if I try. So
Yeah. And so what does that do to your motivation? You see a number like that. What does that do to motivate
it's
you?
it's massive. It helps out a ton. It helps me know that I'm on the right track and I'm doing everything. And as I move forward, having that no inflammation has helping me get out and motivated more. I'm able to go out and mow my yard without really taking any breaks. Like, I mowed my yard the other day. I didn't have to take a single break. Normally, I have a very small yard, and usually that would take me 45 minutes because I would have to pause and stop because I was either huffing and I'm out of breath, or my back's hurting and my whole body aches. So I would have to take breaks. But now I can do it all in one big motion, and I'm done. And I'm proud of what I've gone through so far.
So in 3 weeks on the 2.5 milligram dose, you're down 35.4, right? And you do your next weigh in on Friday to complete your first month. So congratulations on that. You're out of the 500s in the 480s now.
Yep. High.
Congratulations. Yep. Um, so you're doing 1 meal a day. How do you pack your calories into that 1 meal a day? How many calories are you targeting?
So right now, and I know it's a lot of people are not going to like what I'm going to say, and because when I say something about it, they're like, "Oh, you should be eating more," blah blah blah. And if I'm doing 1 meal a day, I'm kind of sticking to it because I've had great results in the past. When I lost all my weight the first time, I was basically doing the same thing, but I didn't know what it was. It was just like it didn't really have a term back in 2014, I don't think,
Yeah.
or I wasn't really looking into it. I was always eating right before work, one big meal, and then I was done. And then after I started working out a lot, I kind of broke that off, which is kind of my plan now.
Yeah.
But I'm sitting around 1,800 calories right now, and I'm trying to do just because of what everybody's saying, a lot of water, try to do protein first, and try to get some fiber in to kind of you know keep off the side effects and stuff like that. So I'm doing about 1,800 right now. And I'm not going to do OMAD forever. OMAD is probably the thing that I'm going to continue to do until the end of the year, if I can. Just because, like I said, I'm trying to get my body to a point now where I can start working out a lot, kind of like what
Yeah.
I was doing.
It sounds like you're hitting. I think no medical professional here, and I'm not giving advice to anyone, but I think the minimum calories a man needs is like 1,800. So sounds like you're hitting that for your body to do its base function. So, do you know how many grams of protein you're getting?
I'm doing like, I think I'm like at around 150 right now.
Oh,
I've been taking one of the cool things that I've been found well, that I found, or I was doing chicken wraps, and so I found these wraps that had extra fiber in them. I'm taking greens. I heard that these are really great with some fiber in it, and then I'm trying to get some vegetables with some fiber in it as well. But the protein I'm hitting at around 150, and I probably should be doing more. And I've also been taking like this protein shot that has a lot of protein in it too, like a
nice,
smoothie.
nice. Do you have any? Are you doing any activities, walking or resistance training to make sure that you don't lose your muscle mass as you lose weight?
And that's something that I need to start getting into. That's the one thing that I have kind of slacked off on so far, and that's just because I can't really make an excuse for it, but it is something that I need to incorporate. I do work kind of like what you already know. I do work 10-hour shifts Monday through Thursday, but I do have Thursday, Friday, and Saturday off to kind of work about that. And I have been trying to get out into the yard more, get out of the house. I have been trying to up that a little bit, but I definitely is something that I need to work on a little bit more about.
Yeah, just get yourself some resistance bands while you're working from home. Just get some resistance bands and move your arms a little bit.
Yeah.
How to help out. Um, so you also mentioned to me that you've made amends for yourself for your food addiction and things of that nature. How did that conversation with yourself go about making those amends?
It was hard. I had to dig really deep down, and kind of like what we've already talked about, it really stuck to me that I have a problem because I had noticed that I don't leave the house, and it's because of the weight. So it was just one of those things where it was just like I really need to find out what's going on here. And I was at my happiest when I was at my lowest, basically, and I was working out all the time. That was when I was the happiest of my life. So I really had to dig down and think about what was going on because I felt like I'm missing out
Yeah,
on my life, and I'm in my my early 40s right now, so I still got time to enjoy the rest of my life and stop making excuses for it. And then kind of like what I was saying, I broke down one day, for some strange reason in my mind, I thought about what my ex had told me that I did have an addiction, and I finally looked around and at my life and what I was going through, and I finally broke down and said that's what I got. So, and that's what's going on. So
yeah. You also mentioned that you're wanting to start dating again. Where does that goal sit with you, um, relative to your health journey? Are they equally weighted, or is one more important than the other?
you have to repeat it. Sorry, my my thing stopped for a
Yeah.
second.
So you also mentioned that you want to start dating again. Where does that goal sit with you, in relation to your health journey? Are they equally weighted, or is one more important than the other?
My weight is my most important thing,
Okay.
and that's to come first. First and foremost, I have to I have to love myself before I can love somebody else, basically. And right now, I don't love myself, so I need to get back down to a place where I feel comfortable with myself before I want to even put myself out in the dating scene. Because the last time I went out into the dating scene, it was it
A
was a
nightmare.
toxic.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I am still at the point where I do want to get it. I do want to start dating eventually. I do still want to have a family and everything like that. And I know the clock is ticking in that area, but at the same time, I want to better myself before I can get into that kind of situation again.
All right. Last question from me. Someone may be watching this that is in the same exact situation or position that you were in on June 18th. Actually, I'll ask a question after this. They're in the same exact position that you were in on June 18th. What would you say to them?
Look at your options. If you're looking into a GLP-1, don't do what I did. Don't just start it. Go to the doctor. Like I said, I kind of am saying that like as a hypocrite, but I kind of wish I went to the doctor first to get all that kind of results and get everything kind of squared away. I kind of wish I would have done all that beforehand. And I am thinking about going to the doctor and make an appointment next month, or maybe even later this month, to kind of go in and tell my doctor that, hey, I'm already on a GLP-1. Do you have any kind of recommendations or anything like that? Maybe do some blood work to see where I'm at, because I'm still on a very long journey.
Yeah.
I'm only on week 4. I have a long way to go. I still have 300 pounds to lose at this point, so I still have a long way to go. So I kind of want to go to the doctor and make sure I'm doing it the right way. Make sure everything is looking good. So, and I know you would
Good.
probably
Yeah,
to go
I'm
to the.
happy to hear that. All right, so now the real last question from me. Then we'll look at some of your before and current pictures. Are you going through Literally Direct? Are you using a quick pen vial? Or are you getting it from a retail pharmacy?
So right now I'm going through Row.co.
Okay.
Um, those things where at first I thought I was going to go with wegovy, and then I started seeing tirzepatide, doing a lot better, and then I kind of landed on Zepbound. So I did a little bit of my research because I knew I wasn't going to get on Ozempic or anything like that, because I'm not diabetic or anything like that, and I didn't really know the difference between any of them.
Yeah.
But I started doing research and I landed on Zepbound, and I'm happy I did. So what I got on right now is the quick pen. So it
Mm.
has 4 doses in one pen, and every Friday on my YouTube videos, I do take the shot where I show how to use it and everything like that. Um, and I just took my last dose on Friday. So this Friday I start my 5 milligram dose of Zepbound. So I did decide to go up, and the only reason I decided to go up, even though I'm having a lot of success on the 2.5, is because I'm hoping that the medication will last a little bit longer in the system and get me through the Wednesday Thursday thing, for the entire week. And I'm hoping to stay on the 5 milligram for a while. I'm hoping to kind of coast on that for a while because I don't want to titrate up too quickly, and I don't want to hit that plateau and then have nowhere else to go. So I'm hoping to stay on the 5 milligram for a while.
Yeah, hang out there as long as you can. As long as it's working, stay there. And you'll have more medication in your system as you get to the end of the week, but you'll still feel that decline because the half life will start dropping off. So you'll feel that decline on day 6, 5, 6, or 7. I went through the same thing. So that I would just eat more protein to feel fuller, or exercise more on those particular days because I know that I was going to have the ability to eat a little more. So just a little pointer there.
I appreciate
All
it.
right, your before and after. So this
So
is you, January of 2012.
that's 2012. I was around 402.
Yeah.
It's probably one. I don't get in front of the camera a lot, so I was like, I think this was like around things, or it was around New Year's, I think it was, of January, and that's a rough estimate. I was around 402.
Yeah.
So I stuck around 402 for about 2012 to 2014. I stuck around. I was probably in that weight range.
Yeah.
Many pictures because I avoided the camera, and now I'm like putting myself in front of the camera every day.
And that's a common theme in this community. A lot of people don't have pictures from. They're always hiding from the camera. I was one of them, so I don't have a lot of pictures of when I was a larger person. And some of the ones I do have are blurry or whatever. So it's hard. They're hard to make out. Let's see. All right. So this is you in 2015, and then when you lost almost, I think it's 153 pounds at the point because you got down to 229. So this is 249. So.
So the first 50 pounds, so from 402 to 350, I was trying stuff, but I wasn't taking pictures. I wasn't documenting anything. I was just trying to eat a little bit better. And when I started on the first of January in 2015, that's where I was. And this was like right around that divorce. Is when it was a little bit after the divorce actually. Because at the divorce I was at 402 and I was just like I got to start losing weight. And then a couple months later, it was the beginning of the year, and it was like, okay, it's time to start documenting this. Maybe I'm doing something special.
Yeah, yeah.
On the right is 249. That's not my lowest. I do have some other pictures. I don't know if I gave them to you or not of when I was at like the 229. Oh, there it is.
Hmm.
And that is my lowest recorded weight, and that's when I was jogging, 5 miles almost every other day before work, and I was working out all the time. And as you can see, there is some loose skin, which I was okay with because I was feeling good. I think I was in like a almost an XL shirt at that time, so the best shape of my life was on 2/19/2026 is when I was like at peak
Nice.
happiness. And then
Nice.
2 months later, I got into the toxic relationship, and it kind of went downhill from there.
Yeah. 229 looks nice.
Yeah, and
And this
there's
is this is when you started on June 19th.
that's day one of 6/19/2026. That's when I started Zepbound, I started OMAD, and I started no caffeine. So 525.2 is my official weigh-in for the beginning of this big epic journey that I'm on right now.
All right, we're going to go over to some Q&A from the chat. I see some folks that come here. I want to give a shout out to I see Bellflower, Pam, Dee Dee, Nancy, Cookie, uh, Nancy, Paula. Thank you all for coming in tonight. If I didn't see your name, I haven't seen it yet. So thank you all for coming in. If I missed your name, I apologize. But a couple of chats there, comments that came in as we were discussing, I flagged them. So Nancy is a Hoosier, and she's from Orange County. So she says, "Hey."
Hey, yeah, Decatur County, Southeast Indiana. I'm in between Indianapolis and Cincinnati.
And King Darium, we were talking about the going to the doctor. He says it's not your fault. The disease of obesity is a chronic, complex, multifaceted, relapsing disease. So many causes and catalysts. So right on there, Darium. Always dropping gems. And then Re says you're doing a great job, Zach.
Appreciate it.
And he also says, great job taking the time to reflect, calibrate, and set a new health trajectory for yourself. Great
Appreciate
job
it.
there.
Appreciate it.
All right. Again, if you have a question, drop it in the chat with the cues and I will find it. All right. Nancy says, other than gout, do you have any other health issues? These meds have helped so many of us resolve our conditions, even getting off prescriptions.
So I don't really have any other health conditions. The gout is probably the only thing that maybe I've I've gotten from this being overweight all my life. Um, like I said, whenever I did go to the doctor, they would always say I did have high blood pressure, but they never put me on any meds. They said it wasn't anything too severe. It could have been just because I was in pain, the blood pressure spikes, and I'm in a surrounding area that I don't like to be in. So they didn't really say anything about it to make me think that it was a problem. Um, but other than that, I did, like I said, I did blood work a couple years ago just because I don't ever really go to the doctor. So I told him, if I was pre-diabetic, I wanted to know before something, bad happened or anything like that. But the only other thing that I could say that health wise that really made me stop in my tracks to me like, man, I got to figure something out is I was starting to get these sores on my leg, and it was probably because I'm holding water a lot. where it was just like I was getting these basically these scabs and these sores on my legs that just never disappeared, and my skin felt like it was bruised all the time. I'm not sure what it is, but it seems to be clearing. It's already clearing up, which is crazy. After a month, it's already starting to clear up. So maybe it was water weight, where it felt like the sores and everything that like that. So, but other than that, I don't really have any other health issues that I know of. But like I said, I will be going to the doctor at some point and getting another checkup.
Thank you for that question, Nancy. Purple Bellflower wants to know, so does Ro give branded meds with or without insurance?
So right now I'm doing it without insurance, which is another reason why. And I need to, on my next checkup, I forgot to try to get my insurance to see if it would cover it. The only reason I didn't try the insurance is because I had heard so many times that insurance just doesn't cover this kind of stuff. So I didn't even really think about it, and I was just taking the hit to the pocket. Row.co, they do have like a premium. I think it's like you get like the first month free or something like that, and then to get access to the medication, you have to pay a premium price. I think it's like $100 and something for that, and then on top of that, I have to pay for the medication.
Yeah. Yeah. Check in on your insurance. It'll be way cheaper.
Yeah,
Assuming that since you're using a quick pin, that they are partnered with, believe they're partnered with Lilly Direct to do cash pay. Uh,
they might.
yeah.
I haven't really looked into that part yet because I just literally got my second shot. But like I said, I do want to go to the doctor, and I want to see if my insurance will actually cover it, and if I can get it that way.
Yeah.
I do like
Yeah.
the equipment is nice
Yeah.
if you
Yeah, you can only get it. You only get the quick pin if you go through the cash pay option with Lilly Direct. So they must be a partner with them. So another thing, if your insurance doesn't cover it and you're fine with paying the cash pay price, I would go to your primary care doctor and tell them and ask them to submit a prescription directly to Lilly Direct. And I think you can pick it up at CVS or Walgreens now through their cash pay program, or have it shipped directly to your door. It'd be a lot cheaper than paying that price up
premium.
that Ro is charging you.
Yeah, I will definitely look into it. Like I said, I was just one of those things where I was just trying to get onto the medication, and I wanted to start it right
Yeah.
away. Looking for it.
Good question there, Purple Bellflower. And Nancy has another one. Have you thought about seeing a dietitian? They can provide help beyond what your PCP provides. Does Ro have a dietitian program that you can use? Or
I don't really know. I haven't really looked into it that much. The only reason I haven't looked into a dietitian is because I I've counted calories a lot. When I lost all my weight the first time, I was using an app called MyFitnessPal. And back then everything was free. It was a great app back in the day.
yeah,
It's still now, but everything is locked behind a paywall, a fairly expensive paywall actually. And so this time around, I decided I wasn't going to go through MyFitnessPal, and I'm just using a calorie counter called Lose It, which is still pretty nice. It does everything I need it to do, and now they've even incorporated a GLP-1 like shot thing where you can
yeah,
track your shot. That so I have been using that. I've seen people use an app called Shotzi, and there's another one on there that is all behind like a premium thing too. But I don't know if I need any of that because I'm kind of using social media to track my progress and everything like that. And the Lose It app kind of tracks my calories in my dose now. So
yeah. All right, we got a few more comments towards you that I was able to catch. Brent says, "Good job, Zach."
get it.
And Josh, it's noted that he started at 547 and is now at 204.6. So gives you some motivation there.
That's crazy.
Great
That's
job. There's Josh.
congrats on that for sure.
All right, Chad, do we have any other questions? You guys are quiet tonight. Or I'm just doing such an amazing job impersonating Lester Holt, as Dee Dee would say, that I asked all the questions that they were going to ask. So let's see if they throw some more in here.
Yeah, that,
Maybe there's one I didn't find that didn't have the cues in front of it. So let me scroll up real quick. Oh, I see John Henri was in here. I hope he's still there. Hey, John Henri. Hope you're doing well. And Wood Kirky, good to see you as well. I think that's it. No questions.
awesome.
All right. But Cookie does say, good luck, Zach, on your journey. So uh, again, welcome to the GLP-1 community. You will find that this community will be very supportive towards you and cheer you on along the way. You are documenting your journey on Instagram and YouTube. I have linked both his Instagram and YouTube page in the description of this video. So please click on those and give him a follow. And let's cheer him on as he goes about his journey. Got another, you got this, Zach, encouragement from Miss WW. You got this.
Appreciate it.
And Darian says, thanks, Zach, for coming and sharing your story. Someone's gonna watch this, and you're going to inspire someone else to start this journey as well. So I thank you for coming on and sharing your journey, the ups and downs of how you got to where you are, and you're going to get back to where you want to be. And I'm certain of that. You got the right mentality, and I'm sure you're going to keep grinding.
Yeah, like I said, I appreciate you having me on. I am, like I said, I just started this up, so I was really shocked to hear that, somebody wanted to hear my story already, because most people only want to see results towards the end. So you got me right at the beginning, and like I said, I think one of my story at the end is going to be a special one. So
Yeah, definitely. And it was and Daphne, I'm not sure if you're watching. It was a woman named Daphne that sent me a direct message in Instagram and hit me to your journey. So I reached out to you. So shout out to Daphne for pointing me in your direction. And what's up, G's? I see you come in. Thanks for joining us. But thanks again. Thanks again for joining us and telling your story. I'm going to wrap this up and do the outro, or my outro, to encourage people to go see the doctors and get checked for these chronic conditions: prostate cancer, colorectal cancer, and your TRT, your testosterone levels. And Darian says, we got your back, Zach.
appreciate
All
it.
right. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for joining us. And we'll see you hopefully next week. I'm working on getting someone else. If not, then I may just do a solo live or invite Darian up to join me and we just talk crap for an hour. All right, everyone. Thank you. As I close, I want to leave you with 3 important reminders. First up, prostate cancer screening. Screening no longer requires a digital rectal exam for those of you that are scared of that. It's a simple blood test typically covered by insurance. For most men, screening should begin at age 50. If you're a Black man or have a family history, such as a father or a brother that has had prostate cancer, screening should begin at the age of 45. However, if you're a Black man with a family history, you should consider starting screening at the age of 40. Black men are about 80% more likely to develop prostate cancer and twice as likely to die from it, largely because it's often detected too late after it has spread. Early detection is critical. Prostate cancer often has no symptoms until it's advanced. I had no symptoms for mine, and thankfully they caught it before it spread. Second up, colorectal cancer screening. Colorectal cancer is affecting younger and younger people. Early detection saves lives. There is approximately one diagnosis every 25 minutes in people under 50. It is now the leading cause of cancer death for men under 50 and one of the leading causes overall in that age group. Among the top 5 cancer related deaths, it's the only one increasing in younger adults. Men are more likely to be diagnosed at a younger age and more likely to die from it. Approximately 75% of patients under 50 are diagnosed with advanced stage cancer. That's either stage 3 or stage 4. Think of celebrities like Chadwick Boseman and James Vanderbeek, both under 50 when diagnosed and when they died. Screening reduces mortality by up to 60%. Colon cancer is one of the most preventable cancers, but only if you get screened. Lastly, get your testosterone levels checked. As the experts in this space say, there is no single better indicator of a man's overall health than his testosterone levels. Make sure the test includes your total testosterone, your free and bioavailable testosterone, because at the end of the day, that is more important than your total number. Also includes your SHBG levels, your LH levels, your FSH levels, and your estradiol levels. Gentlemen, take your health seriously. No one is coming to save us. We have to show up for ourselves and for each other because we are our brother's keeper. And remember, iron sharpens iron.